This is a reading from the Gospel and Hymns. This is on Jacopone da Todi, 1230 to 1306, Italian. This remarkable man, a worldly-minded, some say avaricious lawyer till he reached the age of 40, then the collapse of a staging at a public spectacle killed his beautiful young wife, and in removing her remains, they found she wore next to her body a hair shirt, such as aesthetics were to remind themselves by its constant irritation that they must mortify the flesh in the interest of the spirit. This tragedy wrought a complete change in Jacopone. He gave away all his property to the poor and became a tertiary, one who followed the rule of Francis without becoming a member of the order. His excesses of penance made people think he was crazy, but he exulted in being a fool for Christ's sake. After 10 years, he joined the Franciscan order. In his excessive zeal for the cause of lady poverty and against the corruption of the church, he so vilified Pope Boniface VIII that he was excommunicated and jailed for 7 years. He died shortly after release. During his long years of devotion to the common people and to the person of Christ, he composed and sang many dramatic songs called laud praises that glorified in rude and popular forms the life of poverty, humility, and service. Sometimes his themes changed to fierce denunciations of the vanities of the world, the wickedness of the church, or to contemplation of death and corruption. But his favorite theme seemed to be the passion of Christ and the human sorrows of his mother as she lived through with his son every detail of his 6-hour agony on the cross. Something of the dramatic quality of these lauds is shown in this abbreviated selection from one of them. A voice from the crowd: Lady of Paradise, thy son is taken, Jesus Christ the Blessed. Run, lady, and see how they are smiting him. Methinks they have slain him, they have scourged him so much. The mother: O Pilate, do not allow my son to be tortured, for I can show thee that he is wrongly accused. A voice: Madonna, behold the cross which the people are carrying, whereon the true light must be lifted up. Lady, he is stretched on the cross. In the 14th century, these lauds by Jacopone and others grew in a great body of popular literature, and these performed on all sorts of occasions by a guild of lay brothers called Laudesi. These acting jongleurs popularized the gospel story with emphasis on miracles. The crucifixion popularized the gospel story with emphasis on miracles, the crucifixion events in the life of the Virgin, the punishments in hell, and the joys of heaven. The poetic culmination of this dramatic, lyric, popular poetry was the Stabat Mater, only it's written in Latin instead of the vulgar tongue and reaches the heights of literary perfection. Probably Jacopone wrote it, though the evidence is not conclusive perfection. Probably Jacopone wrote it, though the evidence is not conclusive. At any rate, it represents a sublimation of the cruder vernacular poetry inspired originally by Francis. It is difficult for Protestants to realize the intensity of devotion which the Catholic Church has lavished for 18 centuries upon the Virgin Mary. Her cult began in Syria, attained some vogue in the 3rd century, increased in popularity in the West, where Ambrose, Augustine, and Jerome lent it the weight of their influence, and was implemented in theology when in the Council of Chalcedon in 451, Mary was officially declared to be Virgin, Mother of God. Thence her veneration grew into an integral part of popular religion and the church's liturgy. Mary became the sacred heart of every monastery, the patron saint of nearly every cathedral, the persistent theme of hymn writers. In the later Middle Ages, she outstripped Christ as the dominant figure in heaven, the queen crowned with 12 stars, toward whom the prayers of humanity were directed in absolute faith, to whom the kings and queens of France were coming constantly for help, and whose absolute power is almost the only restraint recognized by emperor, pope, and clown. Everyone knew that it was Mary who dispensed heavens and hell. Alan of Lilly, 12th century, has collected in an allegorical poem some epithets applied to her by the mystics of his day. She is the star of the sea, the way of life, the gate of salvation, the norm of justice, the utmost bound of piety, the source of virtue, the mother of forgiveness, the inner chamber of modesty, a garden enclosed, a fountain sealed, an olive tree that makes fruitful, an odorous cedar, a luxurious park, a magic wand of beauty, a wine cellar furnished with celestial liquors skinned to heavenly nectar, a rose flourishing with never a thorn, gracious with never a fault, a spring of limpid clearness, a light that banishes clouds, hope of the wretched, a medicine for the sick, protector of saints, refuge of the condemned, a path to the wanderer, to the blind a light, a respite to the downhearted, a rest to the weary. Okay, that's all of this reading for now. Okay, thank you.